Carolina. I-20 exit 51 in Lexington.
Thanks for watching News 12 on your side.
From the station that's on your side, this is News 12, first at 5.
Well, pieces of missing monuments that have gone missing are starting to reappear. We'll have much more on that coming up next. But this sweltering summer heat continuing to hang around here in the CSRA, but it's not just us feeling that heat. You're taking a live look here at Inglewood Beach in Florida, courtesy of EarthCam. But even those lucky enough to be at the beach right now, struggling to get away from that heat as a whole. According to seatemperature.org, Florida's sea temperatures are in the high 80s. And off in Georgia and South Carolina's coast, it's not much better. Charleston's water temp is clocking in at 83 degrees, and Brunswick's ocean temps are at 84 degrees. It's just been really, really hot here. Even when you go outside, you feel that air that you can wear all over the place. You're almost sweating right when you go outside. So we are going to head over to, we'll check in with weather here in just a little bit. But first today, new information, former President Donald Trump calling on Georgia's Supreme Court to throw out the district attorney who could bring more criminal charges against him just weeks before he could be indicted in Fulton County. Well, Trump wants to disqualify DA Fani Willis. He also wants evidence tossed out in this case. Trump is accused of conspiring to overturn the 2020 presidential election results in Georgia, as well as making false election fraud claims after the election. Trump's team filed a similar petition back in March and filed again today because it was never ruled on. At the federal level, the Department of Justice is asking a judge to reject Trump's request to postpone his classified documents trial. Earlier this week, Trump's team requested an indefinite delay. Federal prosecutors want the trial to start on December 11th and say there's no reason to delay. Trump's team argues it's way too soon for a case of this nature and magnitude. Trump is facing more than 30 felony counts related to mishandling classified documents at his Florida estate. An update now to a story we first brought you last month. After several historical monuments in downtown Augusta had their place cards stolen, one of those monuments belongs to the Masonic Lodge, and they were suddenly faced with a price tag in the thousands to replace the bronze Bible taken from their monument. But now, nearly a month to the day later, things have taken a turn for the better. News 12's Hallie Turner live on Green Street. Hallie, what if we learned that these missing Bibles is now back in the hands of the Masonic Lodge? So what's next for all of this?
Yeah, well, next is getting someone out here to fix this monument and put the Bible right back over here on the top where it belongs. But that's actually going to be a minute because they discovered during the process of all of this that another part to the monument that goes right here, where I don't know if you can see really well, but right here in the middle of it has been found. For a while, Stephen Fishman tells me those at the Webb Lodge number 166 always had speculation there was a time capsule within the monument, but they could never find the paperwork. When everything came to a head this week and Stephen Fishman got a call, it was not only a call of relief, but something special was inside.
I got a call from a federal agent, and when he called me, I locked the door to my business, and I was there in about 4 minutes. It takes about 10 minutes to get there. So I was very, very anxious and very pleased with what I found.
And coming up all new tonight on News 12 at 6 o'clock, we'll give you a deeper look into what was recovered and the next steps that are in place to fix this monument. Well,
okay, thank you for keeping us updated on that, Hallie. We'll be sure to get more from you coming up tonight on News 12 at 6 o'clock. Riley?
Another hot and humid afternoon for us. Storm chances looking fairly low for most spots. We are going to keep the opportunity to see a hit or miss storm at least around midnight tonight. So kind of similar to last night. Cannot rule out a few pop-up cells that won't even last a little bit past sunset. Here's a closer look at just around Columbia, Richmond, McDuffie, Warren, Glasscock County. A few of these tiny little showers and storms are popping up, struggling to hold together. But if you do get underneath one of these, they can briefly or quickly produce over an inch of rainfall. Now, current heat index over 100 for most spots. 109 is what it's feeling like in Aiken, 102 in Saluda, and we've been around that 100-degree mark on the heat index for us here in Augusta most of the afternoon. Through midnight, we'll have that opportunity for a few hit-and-miss storms around the area, and then by Saturday, we're looking at a little bit better opportunity to see some storms late to the afternoon, but still just hanging on to very high heat and humid conditions all the way through the weekend. Evening planner, if you're heading out for your Friday night, we're currently in the mid-80s. We'll fall into the 70s as we head towards the midnight hour, and once again, we will have the opportunity for a few of these storms to pop up at least through around midnight, so heads up for any evening plans you have. Low temps tonight, still pretty muggy, only near 75 for a low temperature by daybreak tomorrow morning. The heat index back up to around 105 tomorrow afternoon, and we are looking at the opportunity for some storms to show up late to the afternoon on Saturday that will last into Saturday night. But for tomorrow morning, we do look to stay mostly dry, so that's going to be the time frame where you want to get those outdoor plans in before it starts to heat up too much and when it does look much drier across the area. Once we get later into the afternoon, that's that complex of showers and storms that should impact us as we head late to the day tomorrow and Saturday night. Much more on the weekend in just a bit. Let's get a quick update on your first alert traffic.
And now, first alert traffic.
All right, folks, let's take a look over. Actually, let's take a look at our station first. We'll take a look outside. Not looking too bad right there. I'm actually going to spin this camera around so we can actually see a little bit of traffic. Looking towards the skies, not too bad out there. It doesn't look like traffic is really slowed down too much across I-20 Riverwatch Parkway, so if you're heading towards those spots, not looking too bad. Now let's head out to Wheeler Road. Let's look at I-20 between the Wheeler Road and Bel Air exit. Doesn't look like those eastbound or westbound lanes are slowed down too much. Looking towards the west, you can see some darker skies, so watch out for a few hit-and-miss storms the next couple of hours. We'll have an update on that weekend outlook for you in just about 10 minutes.
All right, thanks, Riley. A new lawsuit partially blaming the University of Georgia's Athletic Association for a deadly crash that killed 2 people. A UGA staffer was behind the wheel, allegedly going over 100 miles per hour when that crash happened. Tim Darnell has the latest.
It's been 6 months since officers responded to the scene of this high-speed crash in Athens.
We are at Shoal Creek. There's been a horrible accident.
Now, former UGA football staffer Victoria Bowles filing a lawsuit over the crash that killed football player Devin Willock and UGA recruiting analyst Shannon LaCroix, who was driving a vehicle leased by the university's athletic department. Bowles is one of 2 passengers who survived the crash. According to the lawsuit, the Athletic Association made a public statement following the crash that rental cars were available to be used by staff members during recruiting activities only. But the complaint alleges text messages exchanged before the crash shows otherwise, and presumed personal use of the rental vehicle provided to LaCroix was authorized by UGA's assistant football coach on the night of the championship celebration.
That policy was broken.
Here is head coach Kirby Smart defending the university's policy in March.
It's to be understood that you cannot take a vehicle when you're not doing your duties, and they were not participating in their duties at that time.
Bowles is also suing the estate of Shannon LaCroix and former UGA football player Jalen Carter, who was driving in a separate car the night of the crash.
Were you guys racing for Waffle House? I was, because I can tell you right now from looking at the damage to that car, they were moving.
The lawsuit claims Carter and LaCroix were driving at extreme speeds and engaged in street racing leading up to the crash.
Earlier this week, UGA head football coach Kirby Smart said he is still struggling to find a way to persuade his players to slow down when driving. Well, developing in just the last couple of hours, 5 people shot in a car while leaving a funeral. 3 are still in critical condition. Police say when they got to the scene, they found the victims and started giving life-saving care. The police chief calls this a senseless act of gun violence here. So far, no arrest or a reason why a car pulled up and started firing at the victims. In the Grand Strand, first responders are preparing to say goodbye to a firefighter who lost his battle with cancer. Lieutenant Matthew Pointowski was a member of the surf rescue, boat rescue, and hurricane response team. He died last month from line-of-duty related cancer at just 40 years old. Tomorrow, dozens of first responders and family will celebrate his life by paddling out into the ocean and spreading his ashes.
You know, all of us here on this shift especially is a hard hit. We can't fill that hole. So what we're going to try to do is just do this one right and truly celebrate Matt. I mean, that's all he would do. In the same situation, he would celebrate us, and he would want the same thing.
They'll also lay flowers on a surfboard with his water rescue vest. UPS unions across the Southeast are preparing to strike. UPS and the union have been locked in negotiations for weeks ahead of their contract ending this month. A strike could potentially cripple the company, which is the world's largest carrier of packages. Wages are the main sticking point here, with many of its employees making $15 an hour, which union workers argue is not enough to live on. In the meantime, UPS is training its managers to deliver packages in the case that its 340,000 unionized workers go on strike. That number represents more than half of UPS's workforce and includes several Atlanta UPS stores. 12 new Special Georgia officers are ready to get on the front lines after earning their badges. First Lady Marty Kemp hosted the K-9 officer graduation at the governor's mansion this week. 3-year-old Rex here is one of the K-9s and one of the new officers there, but he's been hard at work for a while now.
13 felony arrests and, seized 3 firearms. And he hadn't even gotten a certificate yet. So they're all ready to go. And that just really helps keep Georgia safe.
The dogs will now join the Georgia State Patrol and Georgia Capitol Police. Camp Soul City is almost here, a local business crawl where you can get a taste of what downtown Augusta has to offer. 12 local businesses are taking part in the self-guided shopping and activity crawl. There's no headquarters, so you just choose one of the businesses to start at. Tiffany Blue Bridal is helping you build your own bridal crown. The crawl is tomorrow from 10 to 4. For a full list of businesses and activities, head to our website, wrdw.com. And one of the greatest names in the fight for civil rights and education now lies in state in Georgia's capital. After the break, Georgia Senator Raphael Warnock remembers the life of Dr. Christine King Ferris. Riley?
Well, we stayed mostly dry today in Augusta, but we are tracking some of these pop-up little cells around town. We'll take a look at radar and that weekend outlook just after the break.
Time to only the finest in men's clothing.
Well, just into our newsroom live at 5, Augusta Mayor Garnett Johnson giving us an update on the cybersecurity issue that the city has faced now for months. Over the past several weeks, the city has worked on restoring everything affected by a network disruption. Now, Mayor Johnson says the city is back to full functionality. The investigation into what exactly caused these cyber issues is still under investigation. We'll be sure to follow that and keep you guys updated. Shifting gears to weather now, we'll take a live look outside I-20 in Grovetown. Gorgeous afternoon, Riley, but that heat's still sticking with us. It's hard to breathe outside with this heat.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It is unbearable at times, especially if you're just in direct sunlight. Feel like temperatures right now across most of the area, anywhere from 100 to 105. Not much rain relief again today. We are looking at one tiny little downpour just outside of Fort Gordon, so kind of near that Richmond and Columbia County line. But for the most part, a lot of us are dry again today, just kind of baking in the heat. Official highs right now at 90 here in Augusta. We've been up to around 92, I believe, for the high temperature, but the heat index is what you're really feeling, and that is close to the triple-digit mark. A wide look at what's happening on our First Alert radar network. You can see there are some storms about to cross this I-85 corridor. We have some stronger thunderstorms across that South and North Carolina coast. That's slightly going to send that rain-cooled air towards us, and we'll keep the opportunity for these showers and storms to pop up at least around midnight tonight. So a heads up for any evening plans you have. Right now, it looks like rain coverage is pretty sparse, but there is just a line of kind of building cumulus clouds, and you can see that is giving way to some showers stretching from Fort Gordon all the way to Gibson and Glasscock County. So that will just kind of continue to influence those rain chances around town. A little bit further south, a tiny little shower just outside of Swainsboro, trying to produce some more storms down there in the southern CSRA. For this evening, once again, through around midnight, just watch out for these storms popping up across the area. Temperatures will stay very muggy overnight. We're only going to drop down to the mid-70s heading into early Saturday morning. A few passing clouds for the first part of your Saturday, but it should stay dry. We're not really expecting much of the way of rain chances to ramp up until we get to later into our Saturday afternoon. This will be another scenario to where rain chances will even linger past sunset and potentially into the overnight hours for early Sunday morning. Right now, it looks like most of our Sunday should stay dry, though. We're not really expecting a lot of storm chances into our Sunday afternoon, so any plans for the second half of the weekend do look dry, but it is still going to stay very hot and humid. Here's a look at those rain chances moving forward. So Saturday, I would imagine most spots see some rain at some point between Saturday afternoon and Saturday night, but less of a chance to see that wet weather Sunday and especially next week. And next week, with the lack of rain, we should be able to see our high temperatures actually get into the upper 90s by next Tuesday through Friday. Here's our weekend outlook here in Augusta. 93 tomorrow with those slightly higher storm chances. And then for Sunday, a little bit less of a chance to see a pop-up storm late into the day, but still very hot. Any plans to head up to the lake? Just make sure you do have a weather app close by to let you know if any storms are popping up near your location. Mainly a concern for Saturday. I would imagine by Sunday you don't have to worry about too many storms up at the lake. But current observation right now, Plum Branch Yacht Club, that lake temp is at 88 degrees, and that could actually get closer to the 90-degree mark next week. Take a look at this 7-day forecast. We'll stay in the mid-90s, which is seasonal, through at least Monday. But next Tuesday through Friday, those high temperatures will be within 1 to 2 degrees of the triple-digit mark.
All right, thanks, Riley. Dr. Christine King-Ferris, a giant in the world of education and civil rights, now lies in state at the Georgia Capitol. She is just the 4th Black Georgian to receive this honor. Doug Reardon sat down with Georgia Senator Raphael Warnock to discuss her legacy and how he knew her.
When I think about her, I think of someone who was just always present.
Just minutes before he boarded a plane to Atlanta to eulogize his friend and congregant at Ebenezer Baptist Church, Pastor and Senator Raphael Warnock reflected on the immense contributions Dr. Christine King-Ferris made to the city and to the nation.
We laughed together, we cried together, we walked together, and in a real sense, in the seasons ahead, she'll still be walking with us, just in a different way.
King-Ferris was an educator at Spelman College, her alma mater, for over 40 years, and like her brother, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., was a steadfast fixture of the civil rights movement. Warnock said it's still an ongoing battle, one she fought up until the day she died, ironically, on the same day the Supreme Court struck down affirmative action.
We have fits and starts, we move forward. Sometimes we move 1 or 2 steps backwards, but we have to keep moving. And that's what she did.
On Friday, she'll lie in state at the Georgia Capitol, an honor only 3 other African Americans have had before her. At the King Center in downtown Atlanta Friday, in the shadow of historic Ebenezer Baptist Church, where both MLK and his father were pastors.
The King family and legacy is something that's going to live on forever.
Marlon Taylor and his family learned about the legacy that King, his sister, and the entire family left for future generations.
His family were the ingredients that went into his movement, so they're just a part of it, just like he was.
And Dr. King-Ferris will lie in state until 7 this evening. Then she will lie in repose tomorrow afternoon at Ebenezer Baptist Church. Her funeral is scheduled for this Sunday. Well, hundreds of cyclists in South Carolina taking to the trails for a special purpose. Why they're biking more than 250 miles, coming up next.
First, insurance companies don't make it easy to get everything you're entitled to, but I do.
Hundreds of cyclists will be crossing South Carolina this weekend with one purpose: to find a cure for Alzheimer's and support those fighting the disease. They're trekking 255 miles in the 15th annual South Carolina Ride to End Alz. Our Mary Green caught up with them on their first of 3 days today.
Riders started this morning in the upstate in Simpsonville before making their way into the Midlands and closing out the first 66-mile leg of their ride here in Newberry.
We enjoy the friendship, the camaraderie. We love riding our bikes, but we know that Alzheimer's hits far too many people, and the money going to help the families, help providing resources is what brings us out here.
Andrew King of Greenville has participated in this ride 13 of its 15 years. This is the longest standing state Alzheimer's ride in the country. More than 400 cyclists are taking part this year, and they hit a huge milestone before they even took off Friday morning, becoming the first state Ride to End Alz to raise $1 million in 1 year. That money goes towards care and support services provided through the Alzheimer's Association in South Carolina and to advance research efforts.
We are funding projects across the country and across the globe to find better means of diagnosis, of treatment, and hopefully prevention, and one day a cure.
On Saturday, riders will leave from here in Newberry and make their way down to Orangeburg, and then they'll close out their 255-mile ride on Sunday in Mount Pleasant. Reporting in Newberry, I'm Mary Green.
And this year's ride comes just days after the FDA gave full approval for the first first time to a drug that can slow the progression of this disease. The Alzheimer's Association says that puts even more wind in their sails as they cross the state this weekend. Riley?
Well, this weekend our high temperatures will remain seasonal in the mid-90s, but by next week we're looking at upper 90s starting next Tuesday and lasting through next Friday. Another look at that 7-day forecast just after break.
Make this the summer event.
New Ram Bighorn Crew Cabs, $5,600 off. Now in Waynesboro.
Take the short drive on Highway 25 to save time and money.
Call the Waynesboro Direct Sales Line, 706-249-4163. Right now, by lifetime warranty. North Augusta Customs, located just across the river on Jefferson Davis Highway and on nacustoms.com. Make this the summer event in Waynesboro. Just $359 a month to lease a Ram Bighorn Quad Cab. $359.
Choose the exact vehicle you want, and we'll deliver it within 500 miles.
Good to go. Waynesboro.com.
All right, folks, welcome back. Here's a live look outside of our studio camera. So I-20 looks like traffic moving okay for eastbound, westbound lanes. There's one tiny little pop-up shower that just popped up on the other side of the state line, kind of near all the way down Martintown Road, kind of into Edgefield County. But just a heads up, there are going to be these sporadic little pop-up downpours that will last not only into this evening, but possibly up until around midnight. 90 right now in Augusta, feeling like 99 though. It is another hot afternoon for us. If you do see the rain, it will help cool you off fairly quickly, but the rain is very few and far between. A decent little downpour starting to pop up just outside of Gibson in Glasscock County and near that Warren County line, but for the most part, not a whole lot of rain for us here around Augusta. But keep your fingers crossed. I think we should be able to see some stormy conditions between now and midnight. Now, a little bit further south, just some tiny sporadic little cells near I-16, but once again, through this evening, through around midnight, we'll have that opportunity for these tiny little hit or miss cells across the region. And as we head into late tonight, low temperatures only dropping to the mid-70s by daybreak tomorrow. So it is going to be a muggy weekend up ahead. Watch out for those storms again tomorrow, but less of a chance for the wet weather Sunday into next week. Stick with us. We're going to have much more coming up on Live at 5.
On air and on